Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to get started. And we're going to start off with Emery is going to say the pledge for us. So if you'd like to rise and put your hand over your heart, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Emery. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And you know, normally I would say, how many new people do we have here? But I've met so many new people. I guess how many people have been here for this event before? Wow, so that means we have so many new people. That's amazing. So thank you. And I really hope that you enjoy this evening as much as I do. We're going to hear from some really amazing women tonight. I want to first of all thank Locust Grove for hosting this annual event. I think this is our 8th event, and it's always a lot of fun. Ken Snodgrass for always going above and beyond to accommodate the event. Susan Horton of Nothing Bun Cakes. If you haven't grabbed a bun cake, you should. They're amazing. She graciously donated the cupcakes that we have here today. And Uncle Mike of WRWD is right here, and Tina. They are simply amazing. They're providing the music, the sound system. They do so much for our community all throughout, and I really can't thank them enough. They're definitely the dynamic duo, so thank you. Oops, sorry, I have to adjust this thing. You know, when we first launched this event in 2018, the idea came about because I was meeting so many inspirational women throughout our community, and I knew that it would be incredibly powerful if we could connect them with one another, right? We're always great connectors. That's what we do as women. And I'm so proud of all the ways that the connections that were made here have really helped so many since that time. But I am even more proud of the way this event has helped us reinforce a unique message, that there is no one right path to success. The women who attend this event, and our speakers especially, have each taken a totally unique path to get to where they are. And sharing their personal stories of the paths that they took has been incredibly empowering for others, me especially, so thank you all. This year, we've asked the speakers to address the theme, flipping the script. And tonight, you're going to hear from 3 trailblazing women who have each faced tremendous challenges in their lives. And instead of letting those challenges write their narratives for them, you'll hear about how they were able to use their personal stories to propel themselves forward and define their own futures. You know, I know a little bit about this myself. As many of you know, I'm someone who did not take the traditional path. I started working at the age of 15. I wasn't going to gym in my senior year, and I didn't graduate. I actually didn't tell anybody about that for many, many years. I got my GED right away. I didn't have to go to summer school. I took the test, but I was always very embarrassed by it. And then for years, I was waiting tables to make ends meet. I was a single mom at one point in my life and really knew how it was to live paycheck to paycheck. And I say all of this because I think it's so important. Like, so many of us have that life experience, and to be able to take that to Albany has really served me and served our community so well. You know, I've been at my first business I owned at 22 years old. I had 5 ice cream trucks in a deli. Everybody wonders why I'm always posting pictures with ice cream. And then, you know, when I found myself going through a divorce and had my son, he was a baby, I opened up a daycare, right? Because I wanted to be home with him during the day, and was through the Dutchess County Child Care Referral Service. And then at night, I waitressed, right? Like we all do, a couple jobs at a time. Finally, I ended up starting to sell real estate, and that kind of led me to the path of where I own my real estate today. So, and then getting involved in real estate. I bought a building in Hyde Park, and it was falling down. I made it absolutely beautiful, right? And if any of you have gone through this process, you know what I'm going to say, especially my real estate friends. I go to the town board, planning and zoning, and they say, oh, well, now you have to do this, this, and this, and guess what? We meet once a month. That was something that didn't work for me. And so they had been asking me to run, and I ran, and I was on the town board, onto the legislature, and then onto the Senate, the girl who always hated politics but loves helping people. So it was very unique. You know, and when I think back on my life, as I am sure it's the same for everyone that's here tonight, there were so many times when I could have let the challenges that I faced really define me. You know, and there were so many times also when people would say to me, oh, but you don't have this degree or that credential, so you're not qualified to start your own business or run for office or what have you. In fact, the funniest thing is my husband is an attorney, real estate attorney, and that's how we met, as Jonna knows. And people would come up to my husband, and typically it's women, and say, oh, you own a real estate company too? So it's, you know, it's interesting. You know, and I could have listened to all of these people that, you know, don't propel you forward, but, you know, make you feel like, oh, you know, maybe you shouldn't go down that path. But I was very fortunate enough to have been raised by a fierce woman who, who taught me that when you want something, nothing should stop you. You've got to just do what you've got to do to make it, and that's what I did. I really took that lesson to heart, but when I first got to Albany, I thought to myself, oh my God, what did I just do? It was so like another world. I think I was the 5th woman in my conference, and there were 32 of us, so the rest were men. And it was interesting too, because when I would go places with them, they would think, you know, if we went to the city or whatever, they would think that I'm a staffer or secretary, and the guys would always straighten it out. So we've come a long way since then. But Albany, right off the bat, told me not to share my story. So many there made me feel like having my GED was something really to be ashamed of and forget all that I had managed to accomplish in between. To them, that fact was a liability. And you know what? Shame on them. It wasn't until I was in this role for some time and working with other women and realizing how our experiences had driven us all that I got the confidence, really, to take my narrative and start really sharing my story. When I did finally do that, I started to realize that we all face challenges that could easily have defined us, right? And it's in taking those challenges head on that we are able to flip the script, take control of our own narratives, and be the people that we want to be. Some people who know quite a bit about that include the over 30 nominees that we had for the New York State Women of Distinction Award this year. You know, the Senate launched this unique program to recognize women for their outstanding contributions to their communities and the state. Each Senate district is given 1 pick per year, and this year, actually, for the first time ever, we asked community members to nominate some outstanding women in their lives. So we had 36 submissions, 7 of whom are in the room, or maybe 8 are in the room tonight, and I would ask them each to stand and be recognized when I call their name. Catherine Arpino. Oops. Jill Auerbach. Jill, hi. Karen Hockhauser. Susan Sullivan Bisiglia. Jennifer Henyon. Hi, Jen, I didn't see you. Paige Flory. Oop. And Jonna Spilbor. I don't know if anybody else came in that we missed, that we had nominated? No? Okay, I guess we did a good job. On Zoom, we have Kathy Varonick, who co-founded the Miles of Hope Breast Cancer Foundation. She's simply amazing, too. I can't thank all of you for everything that you do, and applause to all of you. And I am so proud to announce that our 2022 Woman of Distinction for the 41st Senate District is Lori Cassia-Decker, co-founder of Angels of Light and our first speaker of this evening. Lori?
Oh my goodness. Oh, don't lean on the podium, I was told, because I would do that, and yeah. Oh, it's my granddaughter. Hi, sweetheart. Okay. You want to come up? Is it okay if she comes up? This is Giovanna, everyone. She's number 9 of our 10 grandchildren. Yeah. Say hi. Hi. Yes. Yeah, we're all about women in our family, right? 4 daughters, and oh boy, oh boy. First of all, I want to thank Sue Serino. Sue, you are, so amazing. I mean, you've been to not only all of my events, I don't know how you keep your schedule, but you are so personable and you love so much in the community, and thank you for everything that you do. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. She wants to talk. Mommy, I think you better come. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so for those of you that know me, I usually just like to speak from my heart, but I have been advised that I better have some bullet points, right, Ariana? So here I go. So thank you, Sue, and your staff for all that you do. And I'm here tonight with my husband, who's co-founder with me of Angels of Light. We've been married 35 years. Yep, 35 years this year. Wow. The other 39. My daughter Jamie. We have 6 children, 10 grandchildren, and my friends and my dads are here. And all 3 of my dad, well, 2 of my dads, they're veterans. And my husband is a Vietnam veteran as well, so I'm very proud of all 3 of them. Yep, I'm here with my mom, Ariana, who's our vice president, and our friends. So, Angels of Light started really about 20 years ago, and I always describe Angels of Light as divine intervention. We never woke up one morning and said, oh, we're going to start a charity. Did not happen that way at all. My husband was coaching basketball, CYO, 20 years ago, and there was a little girl that was going through treatment, and with all of our children there, it was in November, I'm thinking, as a mom of all these kids, what would I want help with during the holiday season? So we went up to the mom and we asked for the wish list of all of her children, and she was like, oh my goodness, she said, that'd be wonderful. We have to go for radiation treatments and chemotherapy, for 5 weeks, 5 days a week down to Westchester Medical. And it would be such a relief. And we know what it's like during regular times. Imagine having a child going through cancer at that moment. So she gave us a wish list of all of our kids. We shopped, we wrapped, we delivered. On Christmas Eve, we went to her home and we brought all the gifts. And the following year, we had 2 families. Then we had 5 families. Then we had 10. And then before we knew it, we had up to 20 families. And so we finally realized that we really should reach out to the community for some help. So we did. And of course, as always, the community has been so generous and so giving of their hearts and of their time. And so that one year we had all those families, we said, you know what? We ended up closing the business that I had, which was a gym at that time, and we opened up a new gym in Millbrook. And this man walks in and he says, here, this is $1,000 for the children. And it was cash, and he said, I heard what you're doing, and this will be wonderful. I'm thinking, wow, this is a real commitment. Someone is actually, making me responsible for this. So I said, it's about time we become a 501c3, and we did. So in 2016, Angels of Light was an official 501c3. And that following year, we had over 50 families. And this past holiday season, we gave out over 2,500 gifts to over 300 children. And it was so beautiful, but COVID hit. And when COVID hit, we were getting many intake forms that saying, it's so wonderful that you're helping us with our children's for the holidays, but we need help with medical bills and gas and food and clothing and utilities. So we said, okay, all right. So I went to the board, and I said, there's such a need out there. So it was unanimously, it was approved, and so now we're helping families all year round with all of those. So it's been a real enlightening experience in the sense that, like I said, we didn't know that there was such a need. And literally on my way over here, I got a text, and these are things I get regularly now. We had a little girl who is 2 years old, and she has to have a heart transplant, but because her lungs are failing, she needs to have a lung transplant first. And what do you do? What do you do when that's your child? And so the only thing that we can do is give them support and health and love. And we're getting a hotel for them, and we're going to have food brought in for them, and we're going to do all that we can to make that experience as. Oh, sorry, I get really emotional when I think about it. I just can't even imagine. But this is what we are getting approached with on a daily basis now. And I just feel so blessed that we are able to make this happen now. We have families where, we thought, okay, we're going to give gas cards to a family, and then we realize that they don't even have a car. Okay, so now how are we going to help them? And so we get very involved in the families, and we try to have that personal connection. And I think we've been doing okay with that. What do you think? Okay, we're good? We're good? So we're working very closely with Maria Ferrari Children's Hospital. We also have Nicholas Shannon here tonight, and also Michelle Conrad. And they are opening up a pediatric wing of 10 new rooms in Mid-Hudson Regional Hospital right here in Dutchess County. And we have been able to help support them with their getting pacifiers and pajamas and sippy cups and Nicholas, what else? Car seats and all kinds of items to get them going. And so anyway, that's who we are, that's what we do, and we finally have our new office space for the first time in 20 years instead of my living room. This Monday, if you'd like to come, we're in Millbrook, we can have events there, and we have storage there, and all are welcome. So that's who we are, and thank you so much again, Sue, and God bless everyone.
And that's our friend Lori. And you know what? She's always standing in the background when she's helping people. I think this is the most that I've heard you talk about, like what you guys have been doing, because you're always, you just do it all, Lori, and I can't thank you enough. Yes, yeah, it takes a team. I always say that, so thank you. And now I'm so proud to turn it over to a woman who goes above and beyond for veterans here in our community, and whose strength, never ceases to amaze me. Hero Program Manager of Mental Health America of Dutchess County Veterans Programs and member of the New York State Veterans Hall of Fame, Alyssa Carrion.
I want to start by saying thank you to Sue for inviting me to speak. I am completely honored to be standing in a room full of women who are doing amazing things for our community. So thank you so much, Sue. In 2020, I interviewed and was hired for a job at Vet to Vet because of my experience as a U.S. Army veteran and a leader. The opportunity to be surrounded by fellow veterans in a workplace environment was what I finally needed to feel comfortable and able to thrive. I manage our county program that helps house homeless veterans, and I serve as a peer mentor for fellow veterans as well. I have since spoke with veteran after veteran who had had experiences like mine. From the trusted NCO, the battle buddy, the recruiter, to the barracks, the motor pool, and on deployment. It was story after story of women who had spent years burying their trauma to survive. They had nightmares. They couldn't form stable relationships. They had spent years in silence, letting advice like, "No one will believe you," and "If you want to make it, keep your mouth shut," echo through their lives. And I felt like I was staring in a mirror. I went home some nights and cried, overwhelmed at all the pain I was seeing. But these women deserve to be heard. My story is not unique. At 16 years old, I went on a summer experience to West Point, where I got a glimpse into cadet life. And at 17, my parents signed emancipation papers so I could attend. 5 months into my cadet life, I was raped by an upperclassman who came into my barracks room. This horrific experience at such a young age left me feeling broken, angry, and weak. All I wanted to do was heal and go home, but I couldn't. Anyone who knows me will tell you how stubborn I can be. So I chose to use that energy and stay dedicated. I did as the military culture dictated. I kept my mouth shut, and I held my head high. I did well enough to get my first branch and first duty station choices, and I joined the Glee Club and traveled singing at amazing locations. But my whole cadet career was marred by being raped. At 21 years old, I graduated and was commissioned as a second lieutenant. But I couldn't go back to West Point. Even when I'd come home to see family, it was too much. I felt angry and betrayed, and I would get a sinking feeling in my stomach that would spiral into full panic attacks. Because of my military sexual trauma, which was still affecting me, I dated people who treated me poorly because I thought that's what I deserved. I buried nightmares of what happened to me, and I began to sleep with a knife under my pillow. I warned all my soldiers to be careful. No matter what anyone's rank was, they had to know they had a safe person to confide in, and that safe person was me. I loved my time in the military, despite what had happened, and I had really mixed feelings about leaving. My children's dad and I were both living with untreated PTSD, and I finally decided I needed help. In 2015, I saw a psychiatrist who diagnosed me with PTSD, anxiety, and depression, but I wasn't ready to talk. I hoped the meds were enough and I would finally feel normal. And in 2016, I again found my strength, the strength that got me through the academy, and I moved 3,000 miles back to New York. I decided it was time to start over, and I needed to be a mom that my children could look up to. And in 2021, I found myself digging deep for that strength again. I decided it was time to share my story, not just for me, but for any veterans suffering in silence. I spoke with a local reporter, and my story was published. This set off an unexpected chain of events, including a military criminal investigation division case, a VA disability claim, and some very intensive therapy that I didn't even know I needed. It was frustrating, it was invasive. My trauma was being hashed over and over by stranger after stranger. I went through 3 different CID agents while my case was being investigated. I sat for 2 hours on a telehealth appointment telling a stranger the most horrifying details of my life. I was 18, I was asleep. I remember seeing him in a crowded stairwell days later and forcing myself not to throw up. I explained the path my life had taken, the mistakes I made because I no longer believed in myself. I married young and divorced just as quickly. I drank too much to hide the memories, and I was still angry all these years later. But I survived it all, head held high, and I will no longer be ashamed of what happened to me. I will use my voice to advocate for those who have also survived military sexual trauma. And yes, I carefully choose the word survive. We are not victims, we are survivors. National data from the VA reports that about 1 in 3 women and 1 in 50 men respond yes, that they experienced MST when screened by their VA provider. We need to do more for veterans who have experienced MST. There are not enough resources out there to access. Just having MST coordinators in VA hospitals and passive provider surveys isn't enough. Waiting long months for your claim to be processed so you can get some peace of mind needs to be changed. Trauma-informed care needs to be added to our VA compensation claim process. We as survivors are just hoping the assigned doctor has the experiences and qualifications to even be evaluating us correctly the first time. We do not need unnecessary added processes that are re-traumatizing. We need care with dignity and respect. And I make it my goal to stand by every veteran who comes to me with an MST claim to help support them through their painful process. If you're ready and able to open up about your experience, reach out to me. My number is 845-453-1296, and I'm here to listen and help you on whatever path forward you choose. My story is not unique. Class after class of West Point women suffered the same violations that I did, but I won't suffer in silence. I'm part of the long gray line, the best of the best, a leader. And as leaders, it's our responsibility to be the voices for all veterans who are MST survivors. And I am no longer afraid. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. I've known Alyssa for a few years now, working with her and all the great work that she does with the veterans, and she always does it with such a big smile on her face. And thank you so much for sharing your story and for helping so many women and so many veterans. God bless. Thank you. And finally, I am thrilled to introduce you to a woman who has made it her mission to serve and protect our community, a true trailblazer whose power and passion you feel from the first time you meet her. I can tell you that personally. She's the Columbia County Undersheriff, Jacqueline Salvatore. Jackie's gonna come on up and speak. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you.
Thank you. I was told to not lean on the podium, but since I'm the last person, thank you for sharing your story and yours. They are absolutely really touching. I think we all as women from birth get assigned a label or a duty or a box that we're supposed to fit in. And everything we do in life should fit in that box, and should we dare to step outside of that box? You know, they look at you like you got a chicken on your head, or, oh no, you're not supposed to do that, or, you know, it's not ladylike should you do this, or you can't do the other. And I stand before you today to tell you that that's all bullshit. I was told that I always needed to be home before the street lights came on, that my brothers could go outside and do things, but my sister and I couldn't. We had to be in the house, and we had to learn how to cook, and we had to learn how to sew, and we had to be prepared for motherhood so that we took care of other people's children, and all of these things that were preparing us for the life that was destined for us ahead. I will tell you that I didn't babysit anybody's kids. I was not. My mother beat me with a belt on the lawn of the courthouse because I did not come home before dark. Back then, you could do that, though, right? So I think I was always destined to break the rules and push the envelope from a very young age, you know, because I just wanted to experience something other than what I was seeing. You know, the joy of TV that used to go off at a certain time until the little light came. You know, there wasn't all-night TV. But my parents moved from Virginia to the state of New York when my mom was pregnant with me. And the reason they moved to the state of New York was because my mom and dad, who grew up in the segregated South and went to a one-room schoolhouse, wanted their children to be able to walk through the front door. That was very vitally important for them, vitally important for them. My dad had a 6th grade education. He could not read or write. So it was my daily duty to read the mail to him and everything else. He could sign his name, but that really was about it. My mom got pregnant in 11th grade with my oldest brother. She had to leave school, but she made it a point to get her GED before her first child graduated. So we studied. My brother graduated in '79. We studied and studied and studied with her to make sure she accomplished that goal, and she got her GED in '77, and we had one hell of a graduation party. All right? My mom worked at one point 3 jobs. My dad was a truck driver. He did that because it paid really well. And so the goal in our home was that everyone needed to graduate high school. It was not optional. My brother made a career out of it. He spent 7 years in a 4-year high school, but he graduated. Yes. This is also the same brother who went to state prison for armed robbery, and he just celebrated 27 years of sobriety, owns his own home, his own business, and has a family, and his daughter is getting married in August. I say all that, and I'll wrap it up in the end so that you understand why I'm where I am today. I have a family riddled with alcoholism and substance abuse. Both of my parents were alcoholics. I didn't know it at the time. Our house was just a party house where everybody came and you stepped over the drunk bodies in the morning, but it was fun, right? It was fun. So I did well in high school. I did well with grades. I did well in sports. I did well enough in sports that I was offered a full scholarship to the Naval Academy, a full scholarship to Syracuse University, and a partial scholarship to Rutgers University. I took none of them. There was no one in my family who had ever gone away to college. And there was no one in my high school who assisted me to tell me that those were amazing opportunities. Not one person. I was told that you should work really well with your hands and look for something that's really good. That's how it was back then in public high school, inner city public high schools, So do I regret those things? Nope, because I probably wouldn't be standing here today. I say that to say this. No matter what your scenario is, where you are in life, or what you think you may have missed out on, or was overlooked on, where you are now, and I learned this from years of sitting on a stool, bench, or seat talking to people that I paid for a really long time. So, therapy's good. You are exactly where you need to be at this very moment in life. There are people around you that you may not even know because there were so many people who helped me in ways that I didn't know until many years later, and that helped me to get to where I am now. In high school, I had a business teacher who I still maintain contact with now. She's one of those people. Her name is Janet Schnitzer, who realized I had a talent for business. And she realized that talent after she realized that I was running the household budget in 7th grade. My dad was on the road driving truck. My mom was working 3 jobs. So it was my job every 2 weeks to go to the hospital to pick up the main paycheck, stop at the bank, cash it, and go and sit down with the paper budget and put the money for bills in the envelopes because there wasn't online pay, that stuff in the early 70s. Yep, I'm 57. I know, I don't look it, thank you. So I was running a household budget in 7th grade. Did I despise it then? Absolutely. I wanted to go out and play with my friends. I am so grateful that I did that then because it helped me to survive a bunch of stuff in life. It prepared me when I was getting divorced and I had $41.03 a month left after I paid my bills. I worked at the food pantry so that I would have food to feed my daughter and I. So those skills from back then truly helped me further down the line. So I was running the household budget. Janet Schnitzer saw that. And so she sat me down and said, you're going to take every exam that comes through here. So back then they held civil service exams in the high school. I took every one that came across my desk. They were free, right? And so my thought process then was, you need to be on the list in order to be considered. So fast forward to graduation. The superintendent of the district offered me a job working in the business office. So I thought, well, why not? What am I going to do after graduation? I've turned down these college opportunities, and I took that job, And 3 weeks after being in that job, I got a call from the state because I'd gotten a perfect score on a stenography exam. So I had to go to Albany for the interviews. I had no car. You know, Mom wasn't giving up the car because you just didn't do that. Mom had never done that, so it was out of the realm of possibility that my daughter would do that. So with a skirt on the back of my brother's motorcycle, love that dude. This is the one who just celebrated sobriety. He gave me a ride to several interviews in Albany, and I got a job in Albany. I learned the bus route, and I went back and forth to the jobs in Albany and continued to take any exam that was a promotional opportunity. I tell every young person I meet, I took every exam that was an opportunity. I didn't know what half of the titles were, what they meant, or where they were going to send me. All I knew was, 1, it was practice. 2, you had to be on a list to be considered. And then if I got a call, I had options. So I tell young people, don't put everything in this little basket. Draw outside the lines, color outside the lines. You never know whether or not you're going to like it. I did 28 years with state police, and I had 0 desire to be a police officer growing up. 0. But it was a promotional opportunity. I got married young and stupidly. You know, I wasn't allowed outside the house to do much. I married my first boyfriend. I was afraid, after I got pregnant with my daughter, to tell my mom that I was pregnant. I mean, like, complete meltdowns about, oh my God, how do I tell her this? Because, you know, just growing up, it was so strict and you couldn't do things. So I showed her the ultrasound picture, and the response was, at least you did it right. So I was like, okay, you see how this is gonna work here. So I got married in August of 1985. I had my daughter, Janaea, in October of 1986. And then I had the passenger side window of my vehicle broken with my head in January of 1987. So I got my 2 brothers and my dad. And in 45 minutes, we had everything moved out of the house, and I was back in with my parents. So my parents didn't have money to pay for a wedding. We took a loan. So I was paying for the divorce and still paying for the wedding all at the same time. Yeah. Yep. So that life experience, you know. So, but prior to that, back up prior to that, familiarity is comforting as an adult. What we teach our children, they believe to be true. So I married someone like my parents, who was an alcoholic. It got to a point where me trying to work and take care of everything, you know, the car was repossessed, you know, so I'd do the busing. I had a bar of soap that I washed myself, my clothes, and my dishes with. A mouse had eaten part of the loaf of bread, and so I cut those sections out so that I had food, because, you know, the pantries as we know them today were non-existent. All of those things make me the survivor that I am today. I have 0 regrets. I have no regrets. I have multiple opportunities that made me strong, that made me understand that I am so much stronger than I could ever imagine. All of those things built my self-confidence where I had none, and allowed me, and still allows me to this day, to walk into the female section of the jail and sit down and have a conversation with women who have made horrible decisions. I do that. And the first day I looked at them and said, you know what? Jails are filled with really good people who've made some poor choices. But on my end, having a family who had experienced so much of that, I know, I ask myself the question, and I did the same thing when I was on the road and I was arresting people. If my life situation were the same as these people's, what would my response have been? And never to pass judgment. You don't know what people have dealt with, so just never to pass judgment. So I took, I had those jobs, went to Office of Mental Retardation, Developmental Disabilities. I had the Crime Victims Board before then. When the call came for state police, I was at my job at OMRD, at the Planning Council, and I see these guys walk in, I'm like, yep, they're cops. And they started asking questions, and I was on a list for a backfill. This was a Monday, and they gave me till Wednesday morning to be at the academy. Here I am, a single mom, and I'm trying to figure out how the heck am I going to do this? So fast forward, the same mom who didn't want me to do anything differently. I think she just kind of realized at this point that I was going anyway, so she stepped up to the plate and took my daughter, and I entered the State Police Academy. I tried quitting the first 5 or 6 weeks, and my academy classmates said, no, don't do that. This is a really good job, and you should do this, and I stayed. Graduated the academy, I went down to Newburgh. I worked on the Thruway. I worked up in Troop K in Cloverock, right in the middle of the county. I spent 4 years as an undercover in a narcotics unit. I did 8 years in the back room, and I retired as a director of the Employee Assistance Program. There were multiple instances of blatant sexual harassment. One that I remember most is from a sergeant who made a really crude comment and gesture, and I cleaned the entire station out, and told them that if he ever parted his lips to say anything like that again, that there wouldn't be any investigation because I was going to take him out. So all those life experiences that gave me the self-confidence to protect my own well-being helped me out there. After, just prior to retiring from state police, I took a job at United Airlines, loading luggage in the bottom of the planes in the morning. Don't buy expensive luggage, we lay on it when we get tired. Yes, go to Macy's and get that group of 4 for $50. That way you won't feel bad when the wheels break. I did it for the flight benefits, minding my business, get this paper that says, hey, you should be a supervisor because of my experience. I did that, and then shortly after, was running the entire operation for United Airlines at Albany Airport. I had 66 employees. It was nice for a short while, but I quickly realized that they don't pay you enough for that kind of stress. Now, at that time, I was ending marriage number 2, because once again, being familiar, I married someone who was an alcoholic/addict. Right? We'd had our daughter, we built an amazing construction business. When we got together, he had 1 ladder and 2 nail guns, and when we separated, he grossed about $600,000 that year. So we built an amazing business. I wanted none of it. None of it. I was happy with my $41.03 a month and going to food pantry, because you cannot buy peace of mind. Absolutely not. But I also knew that I was right where I needed to be at that time in my life, because Jackie needed work on Jackie. I think we are groomed again at a very young age to be nurturers, to take care of everyone else and make sure everyone else is good and they are taken care of. The first question my therapist asked me was, what do you like to do? And I looked at him like he had a chicken on his head. I was like, what? So what do you mean by that? Yeah? I had no clue. I had no clue. My love language is giving. I love to help. I love to do those things. But I also believe in the analogy that you have to give from the overflow, because you need the full cup for yourself. So you can't give from a half cup. You need the full cup from yourself, so you have to be able to give from the overflow. So I shut everything down. And I went to every denomination of church I think you can find. I went to the One Dharma Center, and I did meditation in the morning. And I walked, and I just took the time to shut everything out to make sure that I was good and I knew who I was. I had a motorcycle that sat in my garage with cobwebs on it. I now have 2 because I ride a lot. I hike. I love trivia nights. If it's new, I might try it. If I like it, I'll do it again. And then, just as I'm finding myself doing all that, and so at the same time, let me back up. At the same time I'm going through the divorce, I'm not working. My daughter goes off to college. She just graduated Marist in May. And I have this house by myself, and the quiet was so loud. So loud. So I did all of this work, and just as I'm ready to say, okay, this is cool, I'm buy a motorhome, travel, do the thing, I get this job offer. But it wasn't for Columbia County, it was for Ulster County. So my academy classmate for state police is the Ulster County Sheriff, and he called me and said, hey, Jack, I just want you to consider something, and I was like, nope. And he said, no, I really want you to consider it. And at that point, I just knew I couldn't commit to the ride. I just was comfortable where I was. I ate 3 meals a day for 4 years in a police car when I was in a narcotics unit. I just wasn't willing to do that. So I declined. I was working for the literary agency, loving my job, changing my PJs and sweatpants occasionally because we're in the middle of COVID, so you just do the top part for the Zoom meetings. And so the offer comes in for Columbia County, and then I said, okay, I need to know what your platform is. I need to know, because this is home base for me. Columbia County's home base for me. I agreed, and then this whole whirlwind thing happened. And then I realized, someone said to me, do you know there's never been a woman undersheriff in Columbia County? I said, yeah. Do you know there's never been a woman of color as an undersheriff in New York State? I was like, get out of here. Right, in 2021, but then I had to think about it. I was the 6th black female to walk the halls of the New York State Police Academy in '88. Number 6. You're just as flabbergasted as I was. And I found out from another female, I'm walking out of the cafeteria at lunch, and she pulled me aside and said, you're number 6. And I'm like, number 6 for what? And she told me, you're the 6th female to walk the halls of the State Police Academy. So, then I said, thank you. And then I said, I'm going to make it a mission to have conversations with as many women, as many young people as I can, to let them know that this is really a great career. It really is a great career. If your love language is like mine and that you love helping people, I love seeing anybody thrive and succeed. You should see me at game shows watching TV, because I'm just so happy when people win. It really is. And that's my silver lining in the cloud motto. When people ask me how I like this job now, I say, most days I like it, and some days I liken it to a dumpster fire. But the good part is dumpster fires are contained. Yeah. So you can put them out. So I try to find the silver lining in the cloud. And then lately, with world events and Black Lives Matter and defund the police movements, and I felt like I was being pushed into a position where I had to choose a side. I'm not choosing a side because I've been profiled. I've been pulled over for speeding with 3 cars. Just 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I'm on my way to an undersheriff's conference. A guy who was behind me and impatient pulls out. He goes and runs another car almost off the road to pass in a no passing zone. I pull him over into a parking lot. I have an unmarked car with lights and a siren, which I turn on. He pulls in, and before I can get out of the car with my credentials, he looks at me and says, you're not a cop, and then he takes off and starts flying up the road. So I call in, that's not the first time that's happened to me. So I call in a failure to comply, and we get him, and we pull him over. And I said, why didn't you stop? And he said, well, you don't look like a cop. So I said, what's a cop look like? Because you've obviously formed your image of what you think I'm supposed to look like before you decide to comply. Then we had this long conversation, and he's got crocodile tears, which I really don't want to hear at this point because I'm pretty pissed. But in the end, we shook hands, and I said, you need to come and hang out with me and some other people because you need an education. You need an education. We come in all shapes. We come in all sizes. We all have families filled with we don't know who or what. And I try to impart that to the people who work for me as well, so that when they're out and about and encountering people on the road, leave your judgment in your pockets. Politics has no place in policing. You treat people like they're your family, and then we'll all be better as a result of it. I thank you so much for listening and for Sue for inviting me. Thank you.
Jackie, you are a rock star. I knew that the minute I met you. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you to Alyssa, Jackie, Lori, from the bottom of my heart. And thank you for telling your stories. It's so compelling. And to all of the women that are here tonight to hear these stories, I hope that you really enjoyed it. And I know that these women are going to give those who have inspired me a platform to inspire others. And I cannot thank you all enough for joining us here today. And I also want to say, if you're a woman of distinction nominee that are here today, can you meet us to take a photo? And for the rest of everybody, I hope that you get an opportunity to network, because we have some very powerful women here tonight. So the nominees can come up and we'll take a photo together. So thank you.